Welcome back to the Lines College Football Podcast. I'm Brett Gibbons with TheLines.com, breaking down some Tuesday and Wednesday night college football action. Before we get into it all, don't forget to follow at The Lines US on Twitter, and you can find me at Road to CFB. I'll be here breaking down every single Tuesday night slate and also the Wednesday night games today for the rest of the college football season. And be sure to tune into our other shows with Kelly Ford for the full weeknight and Saturday rundowns. And also be sure to check out our full lineup of other incredible shows, including Beat the Closing Number with Eli Hershkovich and Mo Nuwara, and the Lines Megapod featuring Steven Andrus and Matt Brown. Maction is back. It's back on TV. We have Tuesday and Wednesday night lineups this week that I'm going to talk about all four of those games going on in Week 10. Let's just dive into it. It is truly the best time on the college football calendar, spoken from a very biased standpoint of a MAC grad myself. Starting off with Northern Illinois, a 3.5-point road favorite at Central Michigan. This game carries an over-under of 44.5 points, and it kicks off Tuesday, October 31st, Halloween night at 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPNU. Get the kids back. You're going to want to be in front of a TV to be watching these Halloween night action games. The line opened up at Northern Illinois -1.5, and it's just blown straight through -3 to the other side of that. I've even seen -4 popping here on Monday afternoon as we're recording this. There's some potential for snow, which is great. I love me some snow college football games, but the winds will be light. It's going to be very chilly. We're talking about the middle 20s up there in Mount Pleasant, Michigan. The injury bug, it's once again chosen to bite Northern Illinois. Their leading rusher, Antario Brown, left the last game. He did not return. That was 10 days ago, so I'm not entirely sure what his status is going to be, but be sure to keep an eye on that. He's one of the most explosive players on this Husky roster. The last few games, he's been actually really ineffective, which is interesting because he went for 280-4 against Toledo in one of the best individual performances we've seen in the country so far this year. Also, their leading wide receiver, Kasper Rutkowitz, I apologize, I definitely butchered that. I've watched like 3 games trying to find the announcer's attempt his name, and I didn't hear it on there, so I apologize to him and to NIU fans. Anyway, he's also questionable. He did miss Week 7. On the other side, Central Michigan, Jace Bauer has taken over as starting quarterback during that Notre Dame game, and he has not given up the spot since. He is now the Chip's full-time starting quarterback. He's a low average depth of target, doesn't take a lot of risks, but his receivers have not really been helping him out. They have 12 drops in the last 3 games, including 8 alone in their game against Buffalo. He does, though, have 7 rushing touchdowns, and he's a really tough kid. You know, he'll lower your shoulder into you and try to run you over to pick up those critical first downs. Again, really tough guy back there. Low ADOT, low risk, that kind of stuff. Northern Illinois on the other side, they've been really, really solid against the pass. 8 interceptions on the season. Their top 2 corners, Javon Bird and Jashawn Prophet, allow right around a 50% completion rate, and coverage not so bad. Their last 2 games against Eastern Michigan and Ohio, they forced 3 interceptions and have not allowed a passing touchdown as a team. So we're talking about a unit that's really good and has been playing really well in their past few games. The Huskies are also top 20 in yards per rush allowed in their last 3 contests as well. This is a unit that's definitely on the upswing, one that I want to target early here in MAC play before everyone gets a good look at him and realizes, holy cow, this might be maybe the best. I don't know if I want to put best defensive unit for a change. The MAC actually has some pretty solid defenses and some lower offenses. You're going to see a lot of low point totals for what we're used to for midweek action. Central Michigan, they have an issue defending running backs in the passing game. It's a very specific weakness, and it hasn't always been exploited. In fact, the last couple of games that they played, the opposition hasn't really even tried to test that, but a few notes here. They allowed 295 receiving yards to New Hampshire running back Dylan Laub. Yes, 295 receiving yards for a back. They've also allowed explosive receptions to South Alabama's LaDamian Webb, Eastern Michigan's Jalen Jackson. They will allow down the field completions or a lot of yak to these running backs coming out of the backfield. It's been an issue that they've had. And again, not every opponent's exploited it though. If you're looking at NIU, their backs, Antario Brown and Gavin Williams, have 32 combined targets between 2 of them on the season. I'm probably looking at Brown's numbers first. Should he go again? I haven't seen him on the injury report. Scoured Twitter, haven't found an update quite yet. But if he does go, he's a very explosive player. He's a lot more explosive, I think, than Gavin Williams. So I'm probably looking at his receiving yards first. But I am also checking to see offerings if they do give them to you on in your state or specific sportsbook on Williams' receptions. And if that's not, then I'll probably look to his receiving yards. Look, if I know player props aren't available in every state for college, if they're not available in your state, specifically Illinois currently doesn't offer them for in-state, and NIU is in-state, I'm probably looking to the Huskies money line if you can find the fair value. At time of recording, there was a minus 176 on the board, and for me, fair value at minus 3.5 is 180 or better, minus 180 or better, and then at minus 4, that goes up to minus 195. So keep with me with the numbers there. You can find a conversion chart if you're looking for fair value on the money line. I know it's not fun to lay 176, but that's the best I can find on this one. I'm not laying the numbers on the other side of this, especially since it's been bet up straight through that number. So running backs for NIU, their receiving props, or a money line bet for NIU if you can find fair value. Moving forward, we have Buffalo on the road at Toledo. The home team Rockets are 15.5-point favorites, and this game carries an over-under of 52.5 points. It kicks off Tuesday, October 31st, Halloween night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern on ESPN2. They're expecting highs in the low 30s, and there's possible that there will be some snow there. Possible I'll be at that game, especially if it is looking like it's going to snow. I do love those snow games. These teams don't play very often, but Buffalo did win at home last year in this matchup. And on the other side, Jason Candle, one of my favorite coaches to bet against in the country. He's a 44% against the spread coach in 9 seasons. This is his 9th year. He's 3-5 against the spread this year. His team wins ball games, but they don't always cover the spreads. And this indicates 2 things to me. Number one, that Toledo isn't winning games relative to what their talent level suggests they should. And number 2, the market is always going to rate Toledo more highly because of that talent disparity and not adjust that because they're just not covering those lines. So 2 things you can take advantage of. Again, Toledo has not really been in the national public eye, and they will be during action. So I'm looking for these early action season edges because I don't know that. I don't trust that the market has adjusted enough. I do have to note, though, this line did open Toledo minus 13.5 and did go through 14. It's not a super key figure, but it's the biggest key figure we have above 10 over there. Again, all the way up to minus 15.5, minus 16 in some spots at time of recording. And also note, Toledo has won 7 straight football games. The talent is there. There's no doubt about that. You know, they're not misrepresenting their talent. Toledo is one of the better cornerback duos in the group of 5 in Quinion Marshall and Chris McDonald. RJ DeLacy has also been really solid in slot coverage as well. They defend everybody really, really well. I mean, the talent level in Quinion Marshall alone compared to almost every single other receiver in the MAC there's a huge, huge disparity. He's definitely somebody that can take your top receiver out of a game. On the other side, Buffalo quarterback Cole Snyder, he's been a bit more conservative this year. He has just 8 turnover-worthy throws versus 22 of them last year. So we're talking a huge improvement in the decision-making department there. But he also has a much lower average depth of target. He has more throws that have been batted down to line of scrimmage and has one of the lowest yards per attempt in the country. It's just 5.7. So we're talking about a quarterback that has really dialed it back this year, was probably told in the offseason, hey, Cole, you need to cut down on turnovers. So his response to that is, well, I'm just going to throw shorter a line. It does have to do with offensive scheme as well. But yeah, he's not taking the chances that he needs to, especially as a 2-score dog. I mean, you should be taking shots down the field. I don't know that Cole Snyder is going to. On offense, Toledo has Daquan Finn. He's one of the more exciting quarterbacks to watch in the MAC. But they also have the conference's leading rusher in Penny Boone. Kind of came out of nowhere. He actually wasn't even listed on the Phil Steele preseason depth chart. And here he is leading the entire MAC in rushing yards. Buffalo is 95th in EPA per rush allowed. Only 3 teams nationally have allowed more 20-plus yard runs this season than Buffalo. So they'll give up explosive runs. And guess what? Penny Boone is a very explosive runner. He has the 3rd most breakaway runs in the MAC. That is 15 or more yards. The Rockets, they run the daylight out of the ball. Whether it be with Finn, with Boone, with a combination of everybody else on that roster, they're a big-time lean into the run more than the pass because they know their strength, and they have a pretty talented offensive line as well. The big swing here for me is who turns over the ball the fewer times. I hate underthinking things like that because, well, yeah, if you win the turnover battle, you're more likely to win the game. But Buffalo has 6 giveaways in their last 3 games. Toledo only has 2. But Buffalo also has the 6th most takeaways in their last 3 games. So we're talking about a lot of changing of hands of the football in Buffalo games over the last 3. So I just keep an eye on that. There may be a propensity for either team to turn the ball over more than you think. I would also bet under 52.5 in this game. 52 is a key figure when you're talking about college football totals. You can find 51.5. Always bet the best number on the board, but if you don't have access to that, 51.5 still isn't that bad because 51 is the second most frequent total in college football in the last 5 years. So that is one of the most key numbers, and you're still getting it above that. My reasoning real quick, strong defenses on either side of the ball, Toledo more so than Buffalo. There's a propensity for both teams to commit and force turnovers, and now you can think those turnovers may turn into points. I see it as you're over the 50-yard line, you turn the ball over, that's a drive killer. And then the reliance on the run game for Toledo, even though they will likely find some explosive success in that ground game, I don't know that's enough to be getting a score of 31-21 or something along those lines. That's going to be pushing up on that total. So under 52.5 would be my lean for Buffalo at Toledo. Our third game on the slate, we are now moving forward to Wednesday. We have Ball State on the road at my Bowling Green Falcons. The Falcons are 5.5-point home favorites, and this game carries an over-under of just 40 points. Not very maction of them. But like I said, a lot of strong defenses in this conference and not too many blow the doors off offenses. So we're going to be having a lot of those low totals. Game kicks off November 1st at 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN2. Fun fact, this is the 15th consecutive time that Bowling Green has been favored over Ball State. That dates all the way back to 1990. Now, the two haven't played since 2015, so there's not a lot of modern data, but just an interesting note there, not terribly actionable. I do want to have a conversation, though, about Bowling Green running back Terrion Stewart. I've tweeted about him a lot. He has 70 missed tackles forced on the season. That is by far the most in the nation. He forced 20 of them, according to Pro Football Focus, against Buffalo. So very, very elusive player. Certainly playing down in competition. If I had to guess, somebody that's forcing 70 missed tackles probably belongs at a bigger program. But hey, Bowling Green loves to have this guy, and they've been getting him more involved. He has a career just about 5 yards after contact average. So again, this isn't just a miracle season, not a miracle few games. He's been doing this his whole career. There's a pretty clear correlation, not causation necessarily, but correlation between his work and Bowling Green's offensive success. In games in which Terrion Stewart has had more than 10 carries, Bowling Green is 4-1 and are scoring nearly 30 points a game. In games where he has fewer than 10 carries, they're 0-3 and are scoring 10 points a game. Now, you do have to consider game script. When Bowling Green falls behind, they're not just going to be handing off the ball, even though statistically maybe they probably should be. But yeah, again, it's correlation, not a causation, but Terrion Stewart is definitely the engine that gets this offense going. Ball State on the other end is 89th in EPA per rush. I will definitely be looking to see what number they hang for Stewart and likely betting over that total, unless they're giving me 95 to 100 yards juice to the over, which some of the sports books have been if you have them available. Something, though, has to give in a different facet of the game. Bowling Green is 119th in EPA per pass, and visually, to me, much worse than that. Connor Bazelak has been really disappointing. Cameron Orth has not been much better either. They've been kind of trading in snaps here. They've now turned into a run-only team, which is fine. Again, success rate here, they're the ninth highest rush. They have the ninth highest rush rate in the country over the last 3 games. Among the non-service academies, we're talking about 65% clip. They are rushing the football. It's pretty clear what they want to do, and they're having a lot of success doing so. On the other side, Bowling Green leads the country, believe it or not, in turnovers forced, including 10 of them in their last 3 games, but they're also top 5 in giveaways per game, so it kind of evens out to almost a net zero in the turnover margin department. Ball State, though, nothing they love more than turning games into rock fights, especially when they're underdogs. They kept their game against Toledo to just 3-3 going into the fourth quarter, but they do have their moments when the floodgates do open. Again, Toledo ended up pulling away in that fourth quarter. They've given up a 21-point quarter to Western Michigan. They got their doors blown off 40-3 to Georgia Southern, et cetera, et cetera. So they want to keep it as much of a rock fight as they can, but the talent eventually loses out, and better opponents end up scoring those points on them. Now, this does, to me, come down to, does Bowling Green hit those explosive plays when they have the football? If yes, which I do think that they will, particularly Terrion Stewart, I'm probably going to take the points with Bowling Green, so as long as it stays under a touchdown at home. But again, as a BG grad, I am acutely aware that this is the kind of game that the Falcons just lose outright. They'll beat Georgia Tech, they'll beat Minnesota, they turn around and lose to Ball State, Western Michigan. It's just kind of their MO. It goes beyond the numbers, a little bit of familiarity, with the team here. But yeah, if I had to place a best bet on here, it's going to be Bowling Green with the points, with the expectation that if they just lose outright, it wasn't really that big of a surprise. Final game on the docket for today, we have Kent State on the road, quote-unquote road, down the road at Akron. The Zips are 3-point home favorites, and this game carries an over-under of just 39 points. We're not talking about any offensive fireworks here. This game kicks off Wednesday night, November 1st at 7:30 p.m. Eastern on ESPNU. And this is a game, a battle for the Wagon Wheel Trophy that has been dating back since just after World War II. Akron does lead the all-time series, 35-28-2, but Kent State leads the Wagon Wheel series since they introduced the trophy, 27-24-1. That dates back to 1946, and also the Flashes are winners of the last 4 straight. There are temperatures expected in the mid-30s with a little bit of breeze at night, though, especially when you're talking about in the Midwest. That brings temps right down. This could be, at least feels-wise, the coldest game on the Maxim slate that we have this week. This is the second time that Akron's been a favorite against an FBS opponent this year. Why is that important? Because you had to go back to 2020 to find the last time they were even favored over a team once, and they have not been favored twice in a season since 2018. So this is new territory for the Akron Zips, they're getting there under Joe Moorhead. They're trying. They can only do so much though when we're talking about Akron here. And I'll be honest here. I took home field advantage completely out. I don't have any. I'm treating this like a neutral sider. Just 0 points for HFA. Akron is 125th in FBS attendance over the last 5 years, and the campuses are 10 miles apart. Kent State players are going to be sleeping in their own beds. They're going to be waking up, maybe even going to class before they even have to get ready, and just had about 15, 20 minutes to their neighboring Akron. These two teams are also my 2 bottom teams in power ratings. It's kind of sad to see. I love the MAC very much, but these, by the numbers, are the 2 worst teams in the country duking it out here on Wednesday night. Okay, let's get into some player stuff here. Starting quarterback DJ Irons for Akron tore his ACL a couple of weeks back. He's done for the season. Jeff Undercuffler is now the starter moving forward. He had a really fun game at the very end of last year, almost spoiled Buffalo's ability to go to a bowl game, but he has not been that great since. It was kind of a one-game wonder. On the other side, Kent's leading rusher, Gavin Garcia, is questionable for the game. That is a big deal to this offense. Few points, though, that they may have generated. Relative to opponent strength, nobody fields a worse offense than Kent State this year. They've scored twice in a game, just twice. They've never eclipsed 17 points on the board. This is not the Sean Lewis flash fast system anymore. If you are kind of reintroducing yourself to MAC teams and a Kent State football, this is not the run a breakneck pace. It's more of a middling pace, and they're just not finding the end zone. They're just not finding any sort of points this year. It's been a tough rebuild for Kent State. They do flip-flop between 2 quarterbacks. One may not be better than the other. They've lately been going to Tommy Ulatowski and Michael Amayo was the older. Pardon me, I'm struggling with these pronunciations today. Michael Alamayo is the incumbent, and the other guy came in and has eclipsed them since Colin Schley is now at UCLA. They go against an Akron defense I think is fine by MAC standards, not anything crazy on the national scale, but as far as MAC goes, they've been playing pretty well. But they are more susceptible to the run than the pass. And, of course, Kent State flip-flopping between 2 quarterbacks prefers to run the ball than they prefer to throw the ball at the moment. The Flashes have been a power ratings anomaly for a lot of people this year. I don't know that it's fully grasped just how bad this team has been. And my aggregated power ratings included. Every week it shows me, it lights up, says, hey, bet Kent State. But we're using a little bit of outside knowledge, a little bit of common sense that says, no, thank you. And that's been kind of a good decision not to bet them. I do think they're a bit overrated, but is it enough to fade them at a field goal or even more? I'm going to be honest. I'm probably taking plus 3.5 where I can find it. It's a projected low scoring rivalry game. Akron's down that starting quarterback. I'm probably taking Kent State with the points for the first time all year, and hoping for the best in this rivalry game. Hop on over to our Discord server where you can connect with over 4,000 sports betting fans and get live updates in our college football channel. And there you can join a sharp and very active community. I know we're going to be talking about MACtion upcoming, all the weeknight games. That's when it really gets going. We've got the college football playoff rankings coming up. I'm sure we'll be having conversations about those in our Discord as well. Don't forget to subscribe to the Lines YouTube for weekly college football odds and betting videos all season long, and subscribe to us on your podcasting app of choice, be it Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, you name it. Let me know in the comments down below who you're betting in these games, if you agree with my leans or my bets or not. And also, if you really feel so inclined, please drop a good review if you like the show on those podcast apps. But thank you so much as always for watching. I'm Brett Gibbons. I'll see you next time.